Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Talking About Sports, episode 13, part 2. And I'm here to let you guys know that this was indeed filmed in the past, where me, Jackson, and Matthew discuss the NFL free agency and our opinions about that. But this time we talk a little bit more towards our teams that we are more biased to. So it's a little bit more entertaining as we become more personal with our opinions. So without further ado, once again, I hope you guys enjoy. And before we get into things, is there anything I was going to say? This is a good transition to move into the Bears discussion. You're discussing the big Nick Foles trade, Nick Foles joins the Bears in hopes of fixing their whole quarterback problem. And we'll start with, before we get into Jackson, I want to hear Matthew's opinion about this.
I was just going to say, let the Jaguars fans speak first.
All right, we're getting warmed up. This is exactly what we needed. I've been hoping for this since Minshew decided to show up on this team. And ever since Minshew started a game, ever since I saw him play, I knew he was our future. Young kid, drafted out of Washington State, and the biggest personality possibly of any player in NFL history, and he's only been in the league for like a year. I think that Minshew is definitely a revenue getter and is definitely the future of this team. We're not paying a backup $22.5 million. We'll let Chicago deal with that. Trading him is the exact thing we needed to do. Get rid of all controversy in the locker room and say, this is our quarterback. You deal with it or you leave, which is Yannick Ngakoue is going to do that in a second. But I think we got what would we get? We got like a 4th-round pick?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. We got a mid-round pick, so now we have 18 bazillion picks in the first 5 rounds. We might as well just draft a whole new team. We've done everything we needed to do in that department. We got rid of the guy that could have caused a bit of an issue in our locker room. It's no disrespect to Nick Foles. It's just the controversy and whatnot of the quarterback position. And now we let the Bears handle that.
All right. So, I mean, just the basis of a trade, I think both sides got what they wanted. Like you said, the Jaguars were able to get a pick so they can use it to probably pick another bust. They had some good picks.
It can't be worse than Blaine Gabbert. It can't be worse than Blaine Gabbert.
They had some good picks. I'm not going to lie. Jalen Ramsey was a fantastic pick. Anyway, but on the Bears side of things, I think they got exactly what they wanted. They've got someone who understands the offense to a T. He understood it when he was in Philadelphia, somewhat with Chip Kelly.
In Jacksonville.
Well, Jacksonville didn't run KC's offense, and Nick Foles was in KC when Matt Nagy was there. He played with Andy Reid. Obviously, he played with Doug Peterson when they won the Super Bowl, another disciple of Andy Reid. Just put a counter of how many coaches have come from Andy Reid in the league.
I would say you're probably looking in the double digits, honestly. Just the Reid and Belichick coaching trees extend so far.
Yeah, because you got Peterson in Philadelphia, Nagy in Chicago, McVay.
Yes, McVay's off that tree.
Okay, McVay. Bill O'Brien's from Bill Belichick, I believe.
Yeah.
Which take that with us. But getting back to the whole trade, I think this is a fantastic trade. I'm sad we gave up another pick because we don't have a lot of picks to begin with. Chicago side. We have 2 seconds and then a 5th and some 6th and maybe a 7th. But I'm excited. Hopefully this will give Trubisky the push he needs. I personally think Nick Foles will start week 1 just because of the whole coronavirus pandemic and the lack of off-season activities. Yes, Mr. Trubisky's going to have more time to study the playbook, but that means less practice time. And even if he is a backup, Jacksonville took all the dead money, so I'm not too concerned about it. And Nick Foles can leave after the first 2 years if he wants to, so we're not responsible for that contract if he decides to leave after one of the first 2 years. So I'm good with it, and hopefully we can make it back to the playoffs, especially with the 17 format to give us a better shot, but especially considering what the other teams in our division did, I think it's a real possibility. I just like the trade overall.
Yep, and then, I mean, the whole point of the trade was to give Trubisky competition because obviously he's been needing it because he needs a motivation to get better. because his overthrows have been a very big problem for all the players on the all the wide receivers on the team because they've been struggling to do that. And every time I see it, when you got a guy that's overthrowing people who are under 5'8", like some of their wide receivers, it's a recipe for disaster. But Bears were smart this offseason. They got rid of some of their players. I think they got rid of Anthony Miller, right? Yes,
no, they got rid of Taylor Gabriel.
Taylor Gabriel.
They cut him and Amukamara. Cut Leonard Floyd. We signed Robert Quinn, and we also signed Jimmy Graham for a 1,000th tight end.
Yep. So I mean,
which you didn't need.
Going to the Jimmy Graham trade. I mean, the Bears were struggling with a tight end overall, and bringing a veteran presence who offensively is great. Blocking wise, maybe not so much, but
it's someone who can stay healthy. Basically, all of our tight ends at one point or another has been injured. Trey Burton was out most of last year. Shaheen's been hurt throughout his entire career, and Jimmy Graham hasn't missed a game since 2015. Yes, I know he's in his mid-30s, but it's someone to stay healthy. He was healthy in Green Bay in his mid-30s, so I don't see why he can't be healthy in Chicago in his mid-30s.
Yeah, bringing in the competition is something that's a smart idea, and I'm liking from the Bears general manager. He's been making these smart decisions because forcing these players.
Ryan Pace does not make very many smart decisions, so it's nice to see at least a couple of things here.
Whoa. Hold on.
Let me finish my sentence before we go in to start shots fired at each other. But as I've been saying, I'm trying to compliment the Bears here because Ryan Pace was actually making smart decisions. He's forcing his players to have competition, have motivation to actually produce well on the field, because if they know they fail, somebody's waiting for their job right next to them. So that's going to be a motivation for the Bears to have the players, or the problems that they had last year, they're going to be able to work their way back into it. And we'll see if the Bears have it. The division is definitely looking vulnerable this year. So except for because I don't think the Bears are going to have a chance to make it for the wild card just because of all the wildly other NFC stacked teams right now. But
agreed.
Besides that, I think the Bears have got one thing to look forward to, and that's their division title, and that's what they got to strive for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything to say about your player?
Can I defend my Ryan Pace statement first, please?
Go ahead.
All right. So the reason I said that is because if you look at the way Ryan Pace managed the team in the first year or so, first 2 years, before this offseason, actually, really, to be completely honest with you, the draft pick that he took for Trubisky was one of the worst things I've ever seen. You know it. I know it. Ethan knows it. It was just not a good draft decision. Nobody knew what he could be out of college, and you don't take somebody like that with a second overall pick. And your free agency decisions last year were questionable, and you didn't really do anything to improve the offense. And that's the reason you guys lost the first time. And that's the reason why you guys didn't make the playoffs this year. And it's the same thing that happened with the Jags. So I kind of get I understand where you sit. This offseason, you made moves to help the team get better. Ryan Pace made good decisions. But in the past, it just hasn't been that.
I will agree that first and second round picks have not been Ryan Pace's forte. He struck out basically 3 of the 4 years that I can recollect. He drafted Kevin White. He drafted, obviously, Leonard Floyd, who's no longer on the team. He did draft Roquan Smith. That was a home run pick right there. But I got to disagree with the other picks. He drafted Adrian Amos in the late rounds, Eddie Jackson, Tariq Cohen. Dave Montgomery looked solid. He drafted Charles Leno, Cody Whitehair, James Daniels. A lot of the players, he signed Akeem Hicks when no one else wanted him, when New Orleans and New England didn't want him. He drafted Eddie Goldman when we had, who do we had Ego Ferguson as our defensive tackle.
That's right, yeah.
He kept Kyle Fuller after not some great seasons. I signed Amukamara. He got rid of him, but he signed him. And obviously he traded for Khalil Mack. So I would say drafting-wise, obviously top couple rounds has not been good, but I think Pace has done a fantastic job. And he signed Allen Robinson. And he drafted Anthony Miller. He signed Taylor Gabriel. So he's done a lot of moves in the past few years to improve this team. But I will say, I was not high on Trubisky heading into that year. I really wanted them to draft Deshaun Watson just because you want a winner entering the league. You want someone who goes toe-to-toe with Alabama and beat them. Basically, the most you can see like every year, like there's a really bad NFL team. Can the Alabama Crimson Tide beat this NFL team? You see that every year. Could the 0-16 Browns lose to Alabama? Could the Dolphins, before they improved last year, beat the...
Oh.
Hey, it was looking real rough for you. It was looking real rough. Don't lie.
0-8 hurt.
But yeah, I think he's done a fantastic job. He's basically turned a garbage fodder team with horrible coaches into a potential Super Bowl winner.
You saying the Bears are a potential Super Bowl winner?
Yes, especially with the weakened division. Especially with the weakened division this year, Minnesota lost a lot of pieces. They have Kirk Cousins as their quarterback. That's enough said.
Oh God! They extended him for 2 years. That was yikes.
Detroit is in our division, so that's we're at least in third place just because Detroit is there. And
don't
Green
say
Bay,
that. That's a bad omen right there. Don't say that. I mean, yes, Detroit's going to be terrible, but never say it out
and
loud.
Green Bay lost a lot of pieces. They lost Blake Martinez, Kyle Fackrell, I think his name is.
Yeah.
They lost Jimmy Graham. Not a huge thing for them. They signed Devin Funchess. Okay.
Yay!
So I think this division is really for the Bears taking. They'll probably end up being a 3 seed, most likely, just because the 49ers and the Saints are probably going to be the top 2. And then the NFC East
disagrees on many
garbage.
levels, but okay.
The NFC East is complete garbage. Whoever wins that division is always going to be the 4 seed. So this is a real good opportunity for the Bears. And if they can get through the NFC, they have a really good shot of whoever comes on the AFC.
You want to go next with your Dolphins?
No, since you guys were talking about you were talking about your Nick Foles stuff, we'll stick with that since I didn't really get to say much about either teams. I was hoping to, since you guys are talking smack about me, I'll start talking smack about you guys. I wasn't gonna do that, but I mean, where should we start with Jacksonville? Oh boy.
I have to start Jacksonville. You two can comment off of wherever I go.
Okay, you go.
That's fine.
All right. Okay. So yeah, had to come off for this because it's gonna fall off anyway. Calais Campbell, our star defensive player, the only real superstar piece we have left on the defense after everything that we had been through in 2018. What happened in that 2017-18 season, and he was the second to last person in our starting lineup from there. It was it. We traded him away for a pick that will never matter. A 5th-round pick that will never matter for one of the star defensive talents in the league to one of the best teams in the league, and the Ravens, who we keep forgetting about talking about. But, the big issue with that is now we have nobody, absolutely no one on defense, and you might as well just throw our defense to the hounds and hope that Gardner Minshew can throw 6 touchdowns a game. He doesn't throw 6 touchdowns, we're going to lose pretty much every game. We're probably going to lose every game if we do that.
Don't Mr. Negative over here. Don't be so negative.
Hey, remember back in the old days, I was used to 4 wins a year, and I think I've just gone back to that expectation and possibly even lowered it this year. But I mean, Minshew and Fournette are pretty much the only 2 people of relevance we have hanging left in this
carried
industry.
my fantasy football team.
Yes, Chark is very good, but how are we even going to get plays down the field if we're letting the other players score 40? The other team score 40. I have my concerns with Jacksonville. I thought you guys were tanking last year. I think this year could be even worse for us. It's looking really bad in Jacksonville right now. We're looking like the worst team in the league.
I think Washington wants you to hold its beer.
Yes, I was gonna say the exact same thing. I was gonna say, well, the Redskins aren't not in the right mood to be doing anything soon.
That's true.
But since you said your opinion, I'll say mine. I mean, Jacksonville, yes, they have nobody left on their team. They traded away their Walter Payton Man of the Year. Such a nice guy. They just said, no, we don't want you anymore. We're going to give him to the best team in the league, in the Baltimore Ravens, for basically, like you said, a bag of Cheetos and some toilet paper at this moment in time. But
Well, toilet paper's like a first-round pick, so I wouldn't say that.
but all the players that has left. I saw a picture of all the players that were left from that 2018 defense. I believe it was Ngakwe, and it was one other player. I forgot. There was
It's Ngakwe. That's it.
It was
really?
just Ngakwe.
Gibson and Cyprian are gone?
Yes, Gibson is gone. Cyprian was gone a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So just between losing everybody on their team, they had their chance to continue their dynasty, and after that great playoff run, and things fell apart. The people wanted more money, and the Jaguars obviously chose the wrong few decisions and scared everybody off, and now they are stuck in rebuild mode, and who knows how long it'll take. I mean, the Dolphins have been in it for a decade, hoping to make the playoffs and get a playoff win, but at least the Jaguars got a few playoff wins in the draft. But losing Ngakwe is going to be the final part and the final key to basically prove to everybody that they are indeed tanking. God, I can't talk right now.
Jesus.
But that's what's going to happen. They're going to tank. They're going to tank hard. Yes, Gardner Minshew may pull his Minshew mustache magic and maybe win a few games, just like Fitzmagic, but they're not going to be doing much this year. It's going to be sucks to suck. Got to get through it. As I knew last year, it was horrible for me. Those first 8 weeks. Last 2 weeks, I was happy about because they started winning. But if I were the Jaguars, there's one final piece that they need to do, and I think you'll agree, and that's get rid of Doug Marrone. Get rid of him.
Oh, I've been saying that for years. There's a guy who cares more about your bologna sandwiches than your offense. You're already in a bad situation as is. And I think the big issue with the Jags is that we're living in the past. We're not willing to change to the new form of the NFL. We're playing old school. We're playing run first and physical defense. And nowadays, that just doesn't work as much as it would back in the day. And until we change that, and until we get somebody who can shift the culture in Jacksonville, our team will continue to stay in a 4-12, 5-11 situation until we finally get a new face and a new type of culture in Jacksonville.
Yep, and if Doug Marrone continues to just do his magic, I think the general manager is going to finally lose it. They already got rid of Tom Coughlin. I believe he was there for a year. They said goodbye, no more old offense. But yeah, they still have Doug Marrone, which surprised everybody that they didn't get rid of him. So as long as Doug Marrone's there, this team's not winning any games.
They'll win maybe 3 or 4. That's my guess. I think 3-13, 4-12 is a reasonable number to shoot for.
Who knows? They may get the first pick overall and get Trevor Lawrence. Who knows?
That would be awesome. Actually, no, it wouldn't be. No, we want Minshew. We want Minshew.
Okay.
Developed talent.
So
yeah,
I'm going to take my shots at Jacksonville, but I'll be nice. It's going to be an interesting year for Jacksonville. It's not going to be a good one for sure. As you're talking, you're kind of in the same situation that I was in about 2016 when we had 2016 and 2017 when we had John Fox. Love him. Not horrible play clock management, horrible challenge management, old school offense with a rookie QB. So yeah, you're kind of in the same boat I was in, and it just takes firing that coach and hiring someone who understands modern NFL offense. Is Matt Nagy perfect? No, but I will take him almost over. I would almost say half of the coaches in the league. I would take Matt Nagy over.
I would take all 31 coaches apart from Doug Marrone over him, honestly, except for Bill O'Brien. At this point,
I was going to say
Bill O'Brien, Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah,
Freddie Kitchens isn't still a head coach, so I mean.
Oh, that's true.
Who did Cleveland hire? I forgot.
Kevin Stefanski.
That's a good hire.
Offensive coordinator from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
But yeah,
That's
I think
the other Minnesota issue on the other
I'm
hand.
excited to see how Minshew does. Fournette, hopefully he'll get back to his rookie form. That was a really good draft pick at the time.
Still is. I don't regret that pick to this day. I really
Yeah,
don't.
he has to focus. I mean, they were too much focused on the hype and hashtag Saxonville and stuff like that, and they kind of ran out of gas. And Bortles was god awful, and Foles only got 4 games. I think Foles got a lot more hate in Jacksonville than he deserved because he threw an absolute dime in that first game against Kansas City and broke his collarbone. And it's kind of hard to get back into rhythm after that. You saw how Aaron Rodgers was after he tried to get the Packers to the playoffs after breaking his collarbone. Not comparing Nick Foles and Aaron Rodgers in the slightest, although they do have the same number of Super Bowls and Super Bowl MVPs. So
That is true when you think about it, though.
I think I'm excited to see how Minshew does. I think my ceiling for them is 6-10. I think with how the Texans have downgraded, the Titans will be good, and the rest of the other teams they're going to have to play, they're going to play some bad teams. You already know that, so it should be
Which
interesting.
is a good thing, yeah. If we are willing to do something, like if we have money right now, we do. Go out and get Clowney. If we want any chance of just something, just a little piece to hold on to, just something, then at least make a move in free agency that at least makes our team look like we're not a total dumpster fire, and get a player who can run our defense, because we traded away Calais Campbell because he isn't the future anymore. He's getting a little older. So get Clowney. Might as well try something at this point.
I think that'd be a bad look if you trade away Ngakoue and sign Clowney, because I'm pretty sure Ngakoue had near double-digit sacks last year, and you're signing a guy who had 3. So I think that's a bad – I'd try and work out and see if you get an extension with Ngakoue done.
Here's the thing. He doesn't want to be there anymore. Ngakoue does not want to be there. He has no interest in being there, and he would love to leave when he gets the chance. So we're not going to force a guy who doesn't want to be there. Well, actually, I should stop right there with Jalen Ramsey. But
Doug Marone could be fired after this year. I think he will be fired after this year. And it could be a good opportunity for saying, hey, we're resetting the culture. We want you to be a foundational piece, because they did franchise tag him. So
he's not going to play. I think he's holding out. I definitely think he's holding out until he gets traded or gets some sort of contract extension. I don't see Ngakoue showing up.
We'll see. Now you, Dolphin boy.
Before you guys give your opinion, can I do something real quick? I got a wardrobe change. So, because the Miami Dolphins are, of course, made a big boy splash. Inside this, they obviously had $90 million in cap space. We could have signed anybody in the world. We have money. We've got money. We could do whatever we want. And yes, the Dolphins went off in this offseason. Let me tell you. Can I go through all their signings? Yes. They signed, starting off with their first one, they built off their offensive line. Eric Flowers. Yes, he's Eric Flowers. He missed a few tackles. He's pretty tragic, but he's a great offensive guard. And then they moved to Shaq Lawson. This is their entire signings. They had a bunch of small guys for small contracts, low risk, high reward, basically kind of a thing. So they're hoping for any of that. Shaq Lawson, smaller deal. Their big signing, though, was Byron Jones. Big Byron Jones. They are now paying both cornerbacks, the most highest paid cornerbacks, both of them, in the entire league. They're going to be going off. That's going to be the best cornerback duo, in my opinion, in the entire league. They're adding Kyle Van Noy. They're adding a bunch of special teams men from Cincinnati, from the Eagles. They added Jordan Howard. They added Emmanuel Ogbah. They is a defensive end from Cleveland. They added center Ted Karras from the Patriots, who's going to be their starting center. They've got money, baby. They can sign anybody in their life, and I'm loving it because they're not wasting all their money on one person. Yes, they spent a ton of money on Byron Jones, but he's worth the money, and the Dolphins obviously won that. But I'm enjoying this because we might be back into it. After going 0-8, I'm hyped.
I would just be careful just because we'll see how they do in the draft. That'll be interesting to see how they do. just be careful. It's going to be an interesting year for the Dolphins. My thing is that they probably could have made the playoffs last year if they held on to Minkah Fitzpatrick. And who else did they trade? They traded someone else for
They traded their entire team. Kenyon Drake, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
That was the other one.
Tannehill.
Tannehill, they released Tannehill. I was okay with them releasing Tannehill. But if they kept Kenyon Drake and Minkah Fitzpatrick, they probably still would have had a good amount of money. They still could have probably gotten Byron Jones. So they could be looking a lot better if they held on to those guys. Yes, they have the picks, and it'll be a lot cheaper. I just think they would have been better off holding on to those guys.
You have anything to say about at least the cap space wise for the Dolphins?
All right, I'm gonna try and bring you back down to earth slightly, because although you have made good free agency signings, and although you have probably the most legendary quarterback in NFL history as your starter currently, that's Fitzpatrick for those of you who still don't know who I'm talking about. I don't see it. I don't, and it's because you got to play the Patriots twice. You're going to have to play, in my opinion, who might be the favorites in the AFC, in the Bills, twice. You're going to I see Jackson's face. I don't care. Yeah, you'll probably beat the Jets twice. Don't care about that. But you're not playing the easiest schedule in the NFL. I hope you know that. And you still have a lot of glaring weaknesses that do need to be fixed. And it's mainly where I'm going to start with is that offensive line. Yes, you got Eric Flowers. Congratulations. It's Eric Flowers. That offensive line is tragic and still needs some help apart from Eric Flowers. Oh, wait, you may have had a guy called Laramie Tunsil. Let's pretend that guy didn't exist, though.
He asked for way too much money. And same with Juwan James, who also went to Denver. Both of those, if you guys don't know what contracts they're on, they're getting paid $100 million. Both of those guys. Both the starting.
Laird.
Yes.
Tunsil's getting $100 million?
I believe Tunsil's getting paid at least. Tunsil's at least 100. Juwan James is at least 80 or 100. Both of them are getting paid
money. Juwan James is 4-year 85.
There you go. Look at that. Yes, they lost their offensive tackles, and yes, they snagged them. But I'll get to that. I'll get to that part later for the offensive line, because the whole point of that is that they got a few guys, but they still have. I hope you know all their cap space that they've been signing. That's only half the amount of money they spent, because they had $90 million. They probably spent around $50 or $45 million. We still got money, and
Then what do you plan on spending it on? That's my question. What do you think
the
Dolphins are going to do?
Save it for next year.
Save it for next year. Still have a ton of money, because we still have, I'll tell you, we still have draft picks. We have 14 grand spanking draft picks in this draft. We could do anything we want. Yes, we're going to be trading up probably to get the great man, the great Allah, the great God of all beasts, Tua. Talking about Shabbat Noah.
Tagovailoa.
Can't even say
I'm not
his
going to
name,
like the Dolphins anymore if Fitzpatrick isn't their starter next year. I'm telling you.
He's going to be the starter next year no matter what. They've already said it, because they have beyond amount of draft picks. They have 3 first-round draft picks this year. They have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. They have 2 firsts and 2 seconds in the next draft. So they have Houston's first-round draft pick, and they have Houston's second-round draft pick. They have Pittsburgh's this year, and they have Houston's this year. The Dolphins are reigning the amount of picks, and yes, it's just a pick. There's a risk at that. Will the players work out? But what the Dolphins have been doing is they're looking to build their offensive line through that. As you said, they suck. They're supposed to get. I've seen all the mock drafts. They are supposed to get 2 offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds, I believe. One is the Georgia guy, offensive tackle. That's pretty good. I think. Oh God, what's his name? But he's a beast to reckon with right now. Hello.
Oh my God. Hello.
But he is definitely a beast to reckon with, at least for the Dolphins. And then they're going to get a quarterback, and then they're going to have plenty more space to get. Yes, the running backs are not the greatest. That's the point of the draft. They have plenty more to risk it with. They're going to. I even heard they're supposed to get 2 quarterbacks in this year's draft. They're going to get some competition going in that in South Beach. But if to sum this all up is the only reason why the Dolphins got so many signings if you went and you asked every single one of these players that joined the Dolphins, there's one thing that comes up that's one similarity. The reason why they joined is because of Brian Flores. Because if you don't know, last year, the Dolphins went 0-8. They sucked. And then magically, if you looked at the Dolphins team, you couldn't name any of the players on their team. They were horrible. But magically, Brian Flores found a scheme that worked, found these random players off the streets like Nick Needham. He was unrestricted free agent. He was on the practice squad, just barely making any money.
Patrick Laird, your starting running back, too.
Yeah, Patrick Laird, we called him to the interim because he randomly came out of nowhere because the Dolphins were on their 5th running back. They were on their 7th and 8th cornerbacks. They were on their at least 6 or 7 safeties. They were horrible, but the way that that Brian Flores was able to just create a culture, to create people that appreciate him, and coming out of nowhere, I mean, if you ever notice, anyone from like the Bill Belichick era, like anyone that comes from him is usually suck. Like if you look at the amount of combined Super Bowls, I don't think there's one coach that's even won a Super Bowl that's come from the Bill Belichick system. This coming from him, this seems promising because all the other coaches, they were all like egoistic. They only cared about themselves. Brian Flores, to me, really cares about the players, and this is going to be biased, but I personally think he really cares about the players, and it's shown that the players appreciate him back, and that's why that those wins, those random wins, the one that started it all, people are going to be, the Titans are the reason why Brady left. It's the freaking Dolphins, I'm telling you. The Dolphins went and beat them in Gillette Stadium. They're the reason they played the Titans. They're the reason they got knocked out in the first round, and it's just this culture that's fueling my my adrenaline, that's fueling my energy, my hype, just because I've not had it in forever. It's been 2016 the last time they made the playoffs, but I wasn't expecting them to win because the amount of like players on that team, they had to go to Pittsburgh and got completely obliterated by that Pittsburgh team when they had the 3Bs. But just to be able to have this much hype is just making me happy, and it's such a horrible time right now. I mean, I feel bad for you guys, but we're going off right now.
Oh, yeah, you better feel bad for me. Holy cow.
You don't have to feel bad for me. QB situation, you can, but everything else, we're good.
All right, I wrote ceilings and floors for our favorite teams, so like record-wise. So, for example, my ceiling is 6-10, and my floor is 2-14 for the Jags. I think that's legitimate. As for the Dolphins, I have 11-5 as your ceiling because it depends on if you go crazy. It does. I think if there's one team that sneaks in and comes out of absolute nowhere, like the Cardinals, there are people who think there might be a chance. Buccaneers, I don't think they're sneaking up. I think they're legitimately going to be a playoff team, and nobody will be surprised. The Dolphins can come out of nowhere. I think they can be a team that goes, holy crap, where did they come from? And I think the Dolphins can surprise a lot of people. Depends on if their quarterback situation, but I think 11-5 is their ceiling, and it could also have them absolutely flopping and going 6-10. I think they're unpredictable.
If they flop, though, like I've said, I've already made a $10 bet with my brother. Yes, I'm young. I don't encourage betting, but my brother was smack talking.
Too late.
Yes, but he said that the Dolphins won't make it. Like all we did was say that the Dolphins won't make it to the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. With the talent that they are building up, there's a significant chance. Yes, it's $10. It's just pocket change. I mean, for me, but being able to I've been trying to prove him for this so long because he's so stubborn. He's such a stubborn Bears fan. for all those that don't know, trying to prove to him that they actually have a chance, at least not this year, not next year, but in the next 3 years, there's very, very good chance. I mean, we've seen it with the whole system with Kansas City. Kansas City has, like, they put Patrick Mahomes, they drafted him, had him sit behind Alex Smith for an entire year, and then had him come up out of nowhere. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. That's what I'm hoping for the Dolphins to do, and that's why I'm thinking that's a good idea, because having someone like a quarterback that's with this quarterback draft is pretty grand spanking good. So some of these quarterbacks that are in this draft, having someone come from there and just sneak their way in, have them wait a year under one of the quarterbacks. I mean, Fitzmagic is not one of the greatest offensive players ever, but he's Fitzmagic. Having them sit behind him, and that's why I think Tua is great for the Dolphins to pick, because having him sit for a year, because he's injured, but I've already seen him throwing and he's getting back into shape. But teams are scared. I don't know if you've all seen all those reports. Oh, the Dolphins are trading up for Burrow. Cincinnati's not going to trade away for Burrow unless the Dolphins give away their entire life savings for them. But That's why I'm enjoying Tua. That's why I think they're gonna be great. Maybe not this year. I see them at least winning 6 or 7 games, just like you said, because of that entire yes, they are going up against the AFC West and NFC West divisions, but this is the wrong time to be going up against them. But I still think they'll be able to steal a few games. They do play the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, so that'll that'll be a few wins. And they play the Bengals too, which are both of those teams are kind of not in the right side of the moon, so to speak. So, but I definitely see that, and they definitely have a sneak chance of making the playoffs, in my opinion, especially for this year.
I raised my hand for a second on Cincy because I think they're the other mystery team that could just kind of pop out of nowhere, depending on how well Burrow performs. But I'm going to go to the Bears real quick for Jackson and the ceiling and floor I've written down, and I'll explain why I have a lower ceiling for the Bears than I do the Dolphins. Because I think the same. I have pretty much the same ceiling. I have 11-5, 10-6,
Okay.
and the only reason I have that is because of the divisions you're playing. That really is it. If it wasn't for that, I think you guys would have a better record. But you're playing what was it, South for the NFC?
I'm checking that right now. Let me see.
No matter if it's the South or the West, they're going either 2-2 or worse than that. And then
we're playing the NFC South and the AFC South.
Okay, well the AFC South's 2-2. That's it, plain and simple. NFC South, I think, is 2-2, 1-3, something like that. Maybe 3-1 for the AFC South. My concern with the Bears, and their floor, by the way, 7-9. I think you guys are going to be pretty much middle of the road no matter what happens. I think that the Bears have a lot of talent built up there. I just don't know that if they are a top level team, just in terms of really anything. NFC, AFC doesn't matter. I'm just not sure if they're top level and they're ready to compete against some of those best teams.
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Jackson, for joining us, and thank you, Matthew, for hopping on and all that jazz. But other than that, have a great evening, have a great morning, wherever you are in the world. But other than that, bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands. Keep yourself social distancing. Stay safe.
All right, stay home,
Goodbye.
everyone. Don't do anything dumb. Adios.
Peace.
Bye.